Miss Kath here. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be baking two sweet treats, but we are not going to be using the oven. Both of them can be made in a mug in the microwave. Now, some of you might notice that I have my official NYIT apron on. I took a couple of cooking classes years back and I was awarded this apron, and you can see it has the battle scars of many recipes that I've made, so I'm proudly wearing this today. Okay, I think we're going to start with the apple crisp in a mug recipe, and then after that we have a chocolate chip cookie in a mug. That's classic favorite. I have my recipe here, and there will be a recipe posted on the website. So if you are not making it along with me, that's not a problem because you can make it later and find the recipe. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to melt a tablespoon and a half of butter in the microwave. Now, microwaves all vary in strength, and butter melts very quickly, so we have to keep an eye on it. I can see in my microwave what's happening, and it's starting to bubble. That looks pretty good. There's a little lump in the middle, but that's going to melt while it sits in the surrounding very hot butter. You don't want to get it too hot because it'll spit all over the inside of the microwave, and Mom will not be too happy. Okay, so we take a small bowl, and we're going to stir in together 4 tablespoons of oats. So I have my oats here. 3 and 4. Good. And to that we're going to add a tablespoon and a half of brown sugar. Brown sugar, when you measure it, you pack it in there. Okay. Tablespoon, and I think I have a half tablespoon. Yes, I do. Okay, I'm just going to rinse my hands because they're covered in sugar. Always making a mess in the kitchen. Okay. Okay, to that we want to add 2 tablespoons of flour. I have my flour right here. So we have 1, 2, and I'm following the recipe. There's no shame in following a recipe. It's great to always go and make your own recipes, but if you have a recipe, I would suggest that the very first time that you make something, follow the recipe, and then you can do variations later. Okay, to this I want to add 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Yummy. Smells so good. Okay, and a pinch of salt. Pinch. Okay, and we're just going to stir that together. So we have our oats, our flour, our brown sugar, our cinnamon, and our salt. And now we're going to add the melted butter to this. I'm just going to get a little mixer right here. Some of the brown sugar is a little lumpy, so I'm just crushing it up a bit. You don't want a giant lump. Okay. So we'll add our melted butter to that. And you don't use too many dishes when you make this recipe, which is nice. I'm sure your parents will appreciate that. Although you should be doing your own dishes when you're done baking. And we're going to mix that all together. This is what we're making right now is going to be the actual crisp topping for our apple crisp. It smells so good. Yummy. I love cinnamon and I love apples, so good combo. Okay, so we have it pretty well mixed. And now we're going to make the apple mixture. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside in another bowl. We're going to mix 1/2 tablespoon of flour. I have a 1/2 tablespoon measure right here. Okay, 1/2 tablespoon of brown sugar. there. And another 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Never smell it enough. Yum! Okay. And I'm going to mix that together. Oh, this brown sugar is lumpy. Okay. Now we're going to add our chopped apple. Now I chopped this ahead of time. I chopped it in roughly the size of about half of a dice. Not necessarily the shape, but not too big because you want it to cook in the microwave. It's not going to be in there very long, so you want to make sure it cooks, otherwise you'll have hard chunks of apple, and you don't want that. Shouldn't be mushy. You don't want apple sauce. So mix that up good. I'm tossing it together to coat all the apples with that delicious cinnamony goodness. I love cooking, baking, especially treats. You know, I wanted to be a pastry chef when I was in high school. I loved making desserts, and I said as much to my parents. This looks pretty good. And they did not take me seriously. Although I do love being a librarian, don't get me wrong. So, okay, so now we have our mug, and we're going to put the apple mixture in the mug. Now, don't be afraid, it's going to fill up almost the whole mug, but the apples will cook down and get a little bit smaller, so no worries. So we'll get them in there. I'm trying to do it neatly because I am on camera. When I'm cooking by myself, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a little messy. But that's, oh, see, we have a jumper. But that's okay, because I clean up after myself. All right, so just pack them down in there. Just packing them down in the mug. And then I'm going to add our streusel topping, or a crispy topping. Sometimes they call it a streusel. Just pack that down on top. We don't want to lose any of our cinnamony goodness here. Most of it's going in the mug, right? It's all right. Okay, so now it's time to put this in the microwave. The thing about microwaves, like I said before, is that everybody's microwave is different. That's why I have a couple of different cooking times. We're going to start with 2 minutes, and then if it is not done on the bottom, and you'll know it's done because the apples will be soft and bubbly, and the top almost does get a little crisp. So if you check it after 2 minutes and the apples are not done, they're hard and they're not bubbly and the top is not cooked and crunchy, put it back in the microwave for 15-second intervals and keep checking it, because you don't want to burn it. It will burn if you keep it in there long enough. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in right now. Okay, so 2 minutes is up. I'm going to check and see how it looks. Ooh, it smells so good. Let's see. 15 more seconds. Oh yeah. I can hear the apples bubbling. Oh yeah. Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to put it over here to cool, because it is smoking lava hot right now. You cannot eat it right out of the microwave. You have to let it cool slightly. You can eat it warm, but it is so hot right now, it would burn your mouth and be very painful. So I'm just gonna leave it over here to cool. I'll leave it right over here. And we'll check that out later. Now, when I was cooking the apple crisp, I cleaned up a little bit, so that's why it looks nicer up here. Let's make a chocolate chip cookie in a mug. Now, it's not going to be a crispy, crunchy cookie. You're just not going to get that from a microwave, but it's still pretty tasty and has the same flavor profiles. So we're going to start by melting 1 tablespoon of butter, and you're going to melt it right in the mug. Now remember, watch the butter so it doesn't burn. I'm gonna do it for about 20 seconds and I'm going to watch it. Ooh. As soon as you hear it sizzle, take it out. Because then you know it's really starting to melt. Okay. So this is all nice and melty. Very good. Okay, let that sit for a minute. Now we're going to add in our sugar. We need 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. I'm going to pack that in with this. Okay. And 1 tablespoon of white granulated sugar. We'll mix that up a little bit. Even the butter and sugar just looks delicious mixed up. Okay, now we want to add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And that is a teaspoon, that is the wrong size. Well, you know what, I'll just eye it and we'll half it. Not a problem. That's about right. Today's recipe is not an exact science. Sometimes it is. A pinch of salt. Yum. And 1 egg yolk. Right here. Let me show you how to separate an egg into an egg yolk and an egg white. So we have our egg and we want to crack it. A little shell in there. And then I'm going to use the halves. And I'm going to go back and forth with the yolk and kind of drain out all the white. There you go. And then just put the yolk. This one broke, but sometimes you can keep them whole in another bowl. And then this white you can use for omelets, or you can add it into other scrambled eggs or whatever, but don't throw it out. You can definitely use it. So that's how you separate an egg yolk. Okay, so now we're going to put our egg yolk in. Get rid of that messy dish right away. Okay, mix that up so it's well combined. Now we want to mix in 3 tablespoons of flour, but you're going to do this gently, because if you overwork the flour in cookie batter, you will get a tough cookie. And you don't want to eat a tough cookie. Well, I don't. Okay. Ooh, it's starting to look like cookie dough, people. Oh, yum. Okay, and now to this, the last thing we add is 1 to 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips. Okay. Now, anybody who knows me, give me a choice of 1 or 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips. What do you think I'm gonna pick? 2, of course. Do you have to even ask? Okay. 2 tablespoons. Woo, get in there. Gently mix those in. You don't want to overwork the flour in this recipe. Gently. I'm folding it, which means I'm scooping from the bottom and sort of flipping on the top. Okay. Oh, that looks so good. Okay, so now this goes in the microwave. Scrape off my little mixing spatula here. It really does look like cookie dough. It's a little wetter than standard cookie dough, but I don't know if you can see that. All right, let's put it in the microwave. This one we're going to start out and microwave for about 40 seconds, and we're going to look at it. If the top still looks wet and like uncooked batter, then we need to put it in for about another 10 seconds. So let's give it a try. Okay, so 40 seconds on the timer. Now while we're waiting for that, we can clean up. Okay, the top of this is still a little bit wet, so I'm going to put it back in for another 10 seconds. It's like a cakey type cookie. And I'm not going to eat it just yet because this one is smoking lava hot now. But let's take a little taste of our apple crisp. I think we could probably sneak a taste. I'm going to blow on it because it is still a little hot. I do like my apple crisp hot though. That's good. The top doesn't get as crunchy as if you would bake it in an oven, but it hits the spot. Definitely hits the spot. So the apple crisp, feel free to top it with ice cream or whipped cream if you have it. I haven't been to the grocery store in about a week, so I don't have any of those things. And the chocolate chip cookie, ice cream, a la mode, is always the way to go. So there you have it. Apple crisp in a mug, chocolate chip cookie in a mug. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen. This was fun. Happy baking, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye.